After a strange virus wipes out humanity, Philip Miller finds himself the sole survivor. He's spent a year alone, driving across America in search of others. He travels through every state, calling out to empty cities and swiping treasures from museums. With his quest for companionship failing, Philip heads back to his hometown, Tucson. Desperate for connection, he scrawls, "Alive in Tucson," on billboards everywhere. Settling into his old apartment, he gathers essentials before moving to a gated community in the posh part of town. Claiming the largest house as his own, he fills it with famous artworks, a White House rug, a dinosaur skull, Oscars, and other priceless items. He jokes that even Nicolas Cage would envy him. Every night, Philip apologizes to God for his excess solo activities and hopes to see another human face before he dies. Luckily, there are plenty of cars for him to drive around. He even raids a grocery store in his underwear, armed with a gun. After just a year, he's forgotten basic manners. With no one to judge him, he indulges every impulsive whim, like wrecking the store and stocking up on adult movies. He entertains himself with solo racquetball, using lamps and fish tanks as bowling pins, and crashing cars together. The chaos gives him a rush and helps him deal with the crushing loneliness. After nearly a month, his grip on reality begins to slip. Being solo on his birthday triggers memories of all he took for granted in normal life. He yearns for his mom, his old life, and just people in general. Months pass, and Philip's once grand mansion is now a dumping ground, cluttered with plastic and cans he never bothers to clean. Showering is a distant memory, and he's adopted a feral lifestyle. With no running water, Philip resorts to using the pool as his bathroom, and even turns a kiddie pool into a makeshift bathtub filled with margaritas. One day, he hits the bar, draws faces on balls, and gives them names and personalities, chatting with them as if they're real pals, just to stave off the loneliness. At night, he takes a ball named Gary to a store, flirting with a mannequin he fancies. When it breaks, he snaps. Deciding he's had enough, he heads to a nearby hill with dark intentions, bidding adieu to his ball buddies, vowing to remember them forever. But just as he speeds towards disaster, he spots smoke in the distance, halting inches from doom. Following the smoke, he finds a trailer, evidence of human presence. Then, a sight he's longed for, a bra left out to dry. Overcome with emotion, he faints. When he wakes, a beautiful girl cradles him, offering to grant his desires before a kiss jolts him awake. It was all a dream. A less attractive and older girl is doing CPR on him to revive him. They're both surprised to see another human after so long. Philip asks about the beautiful woman, but she points out his wet underpants instead. It turns out he wet himself while unconscious. Philip insists he was swimming from the front earlier, which caused his wet underpants. He denies peeing, which panics the girl. She pulls out a gun, telling him to stay back. Philip finally admits he peed and feels embarrassed. After calming down, they introduce themselves. The girl, Carol, used to be an analyst before the virus and has been wandering America since everyone died. She came here after seeing the "Alive in Tucson" sign to check if she's really the last person alive. Although Philip wanted to meet a woman, he's not thrilled about Carol. She corrects his grammar, doesn't get his jokes, and talks about irrelevant things. Deciding to go to the grocery store, Carol complains about him crossing the stop sign, while Philip argues there's no traffic. She insists on following the rules to avoid chaos. To appease her, he stops at a sign and checks for traffic. Her nagging continues at the grocery store, where Philip parks in a handicapped spot. They start their fifth argument of the day. Philip claims there's enough space for a handicapped person to park. Despite Carol's insistence to park elsewhere, he drives straight into the store. Later, she checks out his house and is disgusted by the mess. He's got 2 pools, one full of waste and the other with trash. Carol accuses him of stealing paintings, but he argues they're abandoned. Philip tells her to leave after the house tour. Next morning, Carol's cleaning his house, pushing him to buy supplies for a decent living. At night, Philip complains about Carol to his friends. Though they've only met for a day, he feels like they need a divorce. Next morning, she moves in next door. He tries to get rid of her, but Carol's stubborn. She jokes about him being afraid to be seen naked, and he takes off his pants. Carol talks about repopulating the earth, but Philip refuses her. In the next scene, he's in his outdoor toilet when Carol approaches. She wants running water for tomatoes, but he refuses, even when she offers fresh tomatoes. As night falls, he sneaks into her garden and munches on all her veggies. The next morning, Carol knocks on his door, finding him surrounded by tomato remains. Philip denies the theft, also noticing Carol's injured leg from hauling water. Days pass. Carol abandons her decency, setting up an outdoor toilet in a fountain, mimicking Philip's pool version. They ponder their purpose, feeling forgotten rather than chosen for life's grand plans. Struggling to organize a toilet in their lavish homes, they doubt their ability to build a civilization. Philip, accustomed to Carol's optimism, empathizes with her. He rigs water for her garden from the city tank, lifting her spirits. Grateful, she invites him for dinner. Philip savors an organic meal, a rare treat. They discuss sex, and Philip offers intimacy. To his surprise, Carol insists on waiting until marriage. Initially amused, Philip agrees to ease her mind. They plan to marry the next day. In the church, Philip finds the ceremony unnecessary but plays along. Exiting, they're greeted by a crowd, and Philip panics, realizing his mistake. He wakes up relieved, it was just a dream. Checking the window, he confirms most of humanity remains absent. Later, Carol brings food, suggesting they elect the US president. Despite doubts, Philip self-elects and unanimously becomes president. They enjoy spaghetti and raisin balls, Carol's meatball alternative. After all the planning, the wedding day arrives. Carol gets the venue ready with decorations and bakes a cake, while Philip is supposed to pick up the rings. Instead, he throws a wild party with his friends, burning stuff in a parking lot. He even bids farewell to a mannequin, claiming she's his true love. When they reach the church, Carol has a surprise recording for their vows. But when it's time for the rings, Carol realizes Philip didn't get them. Feeling like she's the only one making an effort, she cancels the wedding. Later, Philip tries to talk to Carol, but she ignores him. So, he breaks into her house with a hammer. Surprisingly, Carol is decorating and made a cake with a statue of Philip on top. Feeling guilty, Philip apologizes. He admits he's not crazy about her personality or cooking, but he's grateful for her existence. Philip decides to make it up to her. They go to a jewelry store, and Carol picks out her rings. They finally tie the knot and spend the night together, but it's not what Philip expected. Carol talks a lot, making weird comments she thinks are sexy. The next morning, Philip plays racquetball at home. He expects Carol to nag him, but she surprises him by joining in. They spend the day doing Philip's usual activities, like setting each other on fire in fireproof suits and crushing beer cans with a bulldozer. They even visit Philip's ex-girlfriend, a mannequin, where Carol stands up to her for hitting on Philip. For the first time, Philip feels happy about marrying Carol, thinking life with her might not be so bad. But on their way home, they crash into a limo. Seeing a beautiful woman step out, Philip starts to doubt his happiness with Carol. To find out what happens next, watch the sequel. Turn on alerts, like, and subscribe for more videos similar to this one. Thank you for watching.